Perfect. Awesome. Welcome, everyone. I'm super excited. It is Monday, 7 p.m. in Phoenix. And what do we do? What is my favorite thing to do every Monday? It is to connect with you guys. It is time for Insights with Alicia. Every week we gather to learn and connect. And I often say things and people want to know more about it, right? They like the insight from the scientific psychic. Oh, look, see, I moved buttons. Okay, so there are so many things that I've experienced that have transformed my life, and I love sharing these insights with everyone, not just my clients. We talk about relationships, our behavior, so many life skills that will literally change your life, and the tools to support those changes. And let's not forget about the animals. We talk about them too. It's been a little while. I've been asking, but I haven't had anything pop in to talk about the animals. For those of you who don't know, I am Alicia I, owner of Who Knew Healing. I am an intuitive life coach, animal consultant, and communicator, psychic medium, intuitive mentor, and I provide healing and growth opportunities for people and animals. Those of you who are watching on Facebook, if you'd like to comment, join us in the chat. Please join by the Zoom link. All right, I'm already excited. I got a drink. Hopefully you got something yummy for you to drink tonight. I just have water. I know it's not summertime. I haven't been making tea. One of the reasons I love doing Insights with Alicia is because it gives you a place to start creating something new in your life with free information. I get to shine the light on things and show a different perspective for how you can create change for yourself. And then you get to choose to continue to grow down your path when you opt to work with me individually to transform at a deeper level and usually at a quicker pace. Okay, so before we start chatting tonight, I'm going to just mention one more time before I get ready to create this event that, right, as a result of the random questions episode from, gosh, is it 3 weeks ago now, where we had so much fun answering questions from the book, 3,000 Questions About Me. And I told you all I was thinking of starting a new event if there was enough interest. And so my current thoughts are the event will be free, small, closed event, meaning not live streamed or recorded like my podcast here, and it will be by Zoom, thinking maybe once a month, just a place to answer thought-provoking and goofy questions for fun and connection. We had a blast. All participation will be voluntary, and I promise you, promise, this will not have the feeling of going around in a circle and answering questions like in an icebreaker. As an introvert, I want to stab my own eyes out in those kind of situations. Like I'm just looking around for stuff I can just jab in my eyeballs. It will not be like that. It will be fun. I promise. So if you're interested in something like that, please let me know. I will create it. If you have any questions, feedback, or ideas to add, please share them. This is being created for all of us. Okay. So what are we going to talk about tonight? Tonight is week 2 of a 3-week series on the clairs. The clairs are one of the ways that we receive intuitive information. The 6 main clairs we're going to talk about in this series are clairaudient, which is hearing, and clairvoyant, which is seeing. We talked about those last week. If you missed that, there's the video on YouTube, there's the podcast, and on my website, there's the written blog for my readers out there. The other 4 are claircognizant, which is the knowing, and clairsentient, feeling. These are usually referred to as the big 4, right? Clairvoyant, clairsentient, claircognizant, clairvoyant. And then there's clairalience, which is the smelling, and lastly, clairgustance, which is the tasting. I'm still in the habit of moving everything around on my screen because I'm so afraid someone's going to pop in the waiting room. Okay, so our bodies are these amazing sensing organisms. They tell us so much about what is happening in our lives. They receive and give us messages all of the time. Here's a few examples from my own intuitive abilities, just to give you guys an idea of what that kind of looks like and where we can get in our own way. Not that I ever do that, or do I ever teach you guys about that? So when there are a lot of spirits around, meaning humans who haven't crossed over, I get a very particular type of anxiety in my chest. It's different than my regular anxiety. And this is where we can get in our own way. Until I started asking my body what it was trying to show me, I didn't know the difference. And since I judge my anxiety so much and I discount it, I couldn't see the information that was being given to me by my body because of those filters. So once I started asking those questions, I was able to differentiate, figure out what was mine, what was someone else's, that sort of thing. When there are lower vibrational forms of entities around, I get very nauseous, and that lets me know that there's a different type of clearing that needs to be done. So like I said, our bodies are constantly giving us all kinds of information. And you guys have heard me talk about like when the nerve in my lower back kicks off, I literally stop whatever I'm doing. Doesn't matter what. And I listen because that is my very big antenna. And when that goes off, something is happening. I need to be paying very close attention. It doesn't mean that anything bad is necessarily happening. It just means it's very much pay attention. There's information for me there. So this always comes back to this first step of knowing our own energy. So we know what is ours and what is someone else's. There is another episode of Insights with Alicia, blog, podcast, etc., that can teach you this. It's called Energy Tools You Must Have and Will Change Your Life. And this is where I start everybody. This is the first step in learning anything about your intuitive stuff. So it's really, really just the most critical step. Doesn't matter which clair you have. This is the first critical step. And the other thing to be aware of is these abilities show up as sensations or feelings. When I say feelings, I am referring to the sensations your body is giving you, not emotions. And emotions are different. I know these words get used interchangeably in our society. I even do it. And in these particular conversations that we're having in this series, I want you to be mindful of the difference. So my strongest clairs, right, are clairsentient, claircognizant, with clairaudient and clairvoyant right behind them. And then clairgustance and aliens, they're my sort of weaker ones. Although, like I said, I was doing research for some of this, I found out I actually have more of one of those. I actually have more of the clairgustance than I thought. We'll talk about that next week. If you find that you only have one of the 6 clairs that we're talking about, that is totally normal. The goal is not to develop them all. I promise you, with all of them I have, it's a lot. It's a full-time job. I wouldn't trade any of it. It's a lot that comes with it. There's a lot of management. There's a lot of being responsible for yourself. So like I tell you, the goal is not to have them all. I used to think I had to learn every metaphysical technique out there so that I could be of service to everybody and help people in any possible way. That will just drain you. That's not how it's supposed to be. We all have our own specific gifts, and that is absolutely perfect. That is the maladaptive overachiever that I used to be. So discover what works best for you and know that is just perfect and absolutely enough. Okay, so I'm super excited. The 2 that we're going to talk about tonight are claircognizant, knowing, and clairsentient, feeling. And because as I've said, those are my 2 of my, well, my big ones. If anything I'm saying, if you guys have questions, if you got comments, if you're like, I have that one, whatever, just pop it in the chat. I love hearing from you. You know that. Okay, so what is claircognizant? This is the intuitive ability for a person to acquire knowledge without knowing how or why they knew it. It is how we receive information from higher spirits, angels, our spirit guides, universe, source, God, whatever language you use, and those that have transitioned by knowing. Do you ever feel like you just know things? You don't know why you know them, and you can't explain how you got the answer, especially when it's about a subject that you didn't know anything about? This is claircognizant. One of the biggest challenges with claircognizance from my own experience and others is discerning between our own logical mental thought and an intuitive knowing, as well as self-doubt, right? Our favorite friend shows up majorly with this particular ability. And since this is one of my main ones, along with the feeling, this is why I call people like me, like some of you that are joining us here, left brain empaths. We are very analytical and very sensitive to feelings, not emotions, feelings. Claircognizance is one of the abilities I use specifically, along with clairsentience, when I'm working with animals. Animals deliver information in 2 ways, at least for me. The first is a thought. It's a very matter of fact, direct, no feelings attached. Not talking about emotions, remember, no feelings attached. The second is a direct thought with feelings and emotions attached. So knowing the difference between your own logical thought and your intuitive thought is very important everywhere you are supporting anyone, human or animal. The first place to start with this is to pay attention to the energy vibration of your logical thought and the energy vibration of your intuitive thought. They are different, I promise you. As you spend more time in this discerning process, You will grow stronger in the knowing, and the self-doubt will decrease. Promise, promise, promise. Once again, this is where knowing what is yours and what is someone else's is very important and helpful. The most common signs of claircognizance include, but are not limited to, you are almost always thinking. Anyone else? Is that just me? We have busy, logical minds, and it can be easy to not recognize the flashes of information we get as intuitive information. So this is where that discerning, this is where that getting quiet and paying attention to that vibration, this is where that work starts to show up. You interrupt people. It happens. It happens. I judge myself so much when I do this. And sometimes the info is just coming in so fast, we have to get it out. Also, we often know what the other person is going to say. So we answer before the person finishes asking the question. Someone else is writing in the chat. Yes, that's me, right? It's just like, here it is. Oh my gosh. And the other part is we love this. Like those are like people who start to develop or awaken to their intuitive gifts. Once you have them, everybody has them, but once you know you have them, it's a very different thing. And you're using them, we get very excited. We love this stuff. It is one of my absolute favorite things is to mentor someone in their intuitive abilities. I absolutely love it. And so we get the information and we just want to share and we're super excited. And sometimes we interrupt people. And like I said, sometimes we know what they're going to say. And so we just answer the question. One of the ways that I notice this for myself is with comedians. A comedian has to be really, really talented for me not to know what they're going to say next. So when I find one that keeps ahead of me, I really appreciate it and I laugh my butt off because I'm like, oh God, I didn't see that coming. It's very rare. There's a few that I've come across and I really enjoy them. So the next is you have specific, powerful hunches. You have a sense of certainty when someone is acting out of alignment, not being authentic, lying, etc. You are a good judge of character. Also, decisions to go somewhere or do something can be very easy for you because you have this knowing. And, when people start to develop their abilities, this is place of, and this is why it can be helpful, whether it's me or someone else, this is why it can be helpful to have a mentor, is that self-doubt gets in there. You're like, oh, is this my intuitive knowing? Is this just because I don't want to go to this place? One of the things that I teach people, I think we talked about it in that other episode is, right, we always read energy of like light and heavy. If something is light, it's a match. If something is heavy, it's usually not a match, but something to look at. And for anyone else who's an introvert, I have a secondary question when something feels heavy and I say, is this truly heavy or is it just my hesitancy? Is this my, introvertness getting in the way? Because sometimes it is. Sometimes there's something that is a match for me and I'm like, oh, I don't want to leave the house. But the universe is like, no, you're supposed to. So this is one of those places that when you're like, oh, do I want to go to this meetup or do I want to, you just instantly know. You don't know how it's very matter of fact, which is why that self-doubt comes in right after, because it's so like, no. And then you go, well, why is it a no? Right? Always those whys, always that's what if, all that kind of stuff, FOMO. And as you practice that and you get stronger in this, it won't even be a thing. I do stuff now and people are like, no, it's a no. Like, I don't have to explain myself. I just know that it's a yes, it's a no. And I trust the universe and my intuition enough to listen to it. Okay. You learn through writing or from reading books. Just like our clairaudience use audiobooks, you use the written word. Automatic writing is a very useful tool for people with this ability. For those of you who have worked with me in any capacity, you've seen me use this tool. The information can come in so quickly that I'm writing down while listening to someone talk. And then I have the information to look at to present them with a complete understanding of what is going on in their life. So it's one of those things where we do two things at once. I'm listening to you, feeling you, getting all the messages, seeing and hearing you, and writing at the same time, because the universe is like, you are the problem solver for your friends. You are the person people come to with their problems for help. You like to learn. Anyone else out there? You may be a lifelong student. You probably like to figure out how things are made and understand complex issues. I love learning how stuff is made. I could watch those. I don't have regular cable, but I know there used to be a show called like How Things Are Made. I could get lost in that. I still remember watching cheese be made, candles be made, And then pasta. I had no idea that's how they made pasta noodles, right? We're such nerds, but we love it. See someone else in there. That's me, right? We like seeing how stuff is done. So figuring out the logistics of something can be really easy for you. You have ideas and information pop into your mind clearly, sometimes randomly, usually when you're thinking about an unrelated subject. Those are those aha moments, right? You have a persistent thought. This is not the nagging mental chatter of old programming or negativity being present. It's an intuitive knowledge that is going to keep poking at you until you pay attention. It's very, very different. You ask questions to the universe, and instantly, hours, days, sometimes years later, you receive the answer. Some of you can even find lost objects. This one doesn't always work for me. I'm always, I love when people are like that, they can do that. It's one of their really strong ones. Once in a while, if I can't find something, one, I ask who moved it, because, sometimes they move things. I live alone and stuff gets moved. But people I remember I have one friend who's like, someone would ask her, where's mom's recipe? Da, 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 da. And she, across the country in a different relative's house, she's like, it's in the third drawer in the kitchen. And I just love that kind of stuff. Mine doesn't quite work that way. I know I lost my keys in this house about a week and a half ago, which is weird because I have to have them to get in the house. So I knew they were in the house, even though I did go check the truck, and I was on my way to the gym, and I was like, where are my keys? Like I looked everywhere. It's just, like I said, it's not a big place. It's just me. And I said to the universe, I was like, okay, if I'm not supposed to go to the gym, like, that's fine. Just give me my keys back, right? Like I won't go. And then I went and I stood over by where they normally are on this particular counter. And I looked at the recycle bin, and I just knew that they were at the bottom of the recycle bin. And I was like, that's not normal. And here's the thing. I almost still went to the gym. I literally went and started the truck. I put my shoes on. And as I was tying the second shoe, I thought to myself, I was like, wait, what did I actually say to the universe? Did I say that, help me find my keys? Or did I actually say, like, I won't go if you give me, and I was like, that's what I said. And so I went and I turned the truck off and I took my shoes off. I did something else, because these are those moments where we bypass them. It's like, if there's a reason, if someone, universe or whoever else went through all the effort to hide my keys, I'm not supposed to go out of the house at that particular moment. Like I said, it doesn't mean that something tragic is going to happen. Sometimes it does. But that's where we get to listen. So these are just those fun stories. And I was grateful that I caught myself, because I sometimes don't, because I'm like, no, this is what I want to do, where I try to control my life and the universe. So that's probably just me. I'm probably just talking about myself. You probably can't relate to that at all. Okay, so this is what's cool too, is the idea to do this series about the clairs came from my claircognizant ability. I thought to myself, I don't want to talk about behaviors, relationships next. I want to do something more intuitive and fun. And I walked about 20 feet in my house, and then this idea popped into my head to do the series. It wasn't something I was trying to figure out or come up with. It was just instantly there, right? I love that stuff. Okay, so those are some of the indications that you may be claircognizant. Hope it was helpful. Now on to clairsentience. What is clairsentience? The intuitive ability for a person to acquire knowledge by means of feeling, as feelers. That's what I call us, feelers. Intuition is the filter through which they experience the world. Clairsentience is the ability to sense other people's emotions, energies, etc. So first, we are going to differentiate between empathic and clairsentient. An empath is someone who is extremely sensitive and deeply senses and feels the emotions and energies of people, animals, beings. Clairsentients tend to be empaths. They're empaths whose intuition reaches a higher level. In addition to this, clairsentience is the ability to pick up on explicit messages from the energy and feelings without having clear knowledge beforehand. And someone who is clairsentient can sense emotion even when it isn't being expressed, and compose a clear idea or understanding of what is happening. That's exactly what it looks like, for me, at least. So being clairsentient means understanding the spiritual and intuitive messages behind the feelings. It's how we receive information from higher spirits, angels, our guides, universe, source, God, and those that have transitioned by feeling. Remember, this is the difference of feeling and emotions. One, we have the sensation in our body, and two, this is that place where we feel other people's emotions. Clairsentients can feel emotions and energy from people near them or people on the other side of the world. There are days when I will be like I'll be like, what is happening? And then I'll pop onto my homepage and like something has happened in China. And I'm like, oh shit, that explains what's going on. It can happen from touching someone, being in the same room, or feeling them across the globe, like I just explained. They do not need to know the person or have ever met them. Clairsentience can also gather information from non-living things. This is known as psychometry. And in my opinion, clairsentience is the one that comes with active management, meaning until you are able to understand this ability and have a consciousness and awarenesses around it, it can have massive impacts, good and bad, on your life. So we're going to get into this. For so many people, myself included, we often don't know we have this ability or are even an empath, like at that level, right? And I work with so many people who are like, what? When I explain and show this to them, it's one of my favorite things because they're like all these light bulbs start going off. It's the best. When you are picking up other people's emotions and energies, but you don't know it, you can have mood swings. You can react to situations in a way that you normally wouldn't. You can make decisions that you normally wouldn't. You will say yes or no to things that you normally wouldn't, and more. I remember being in college and coming home on Christmas break emotionally exhausted and having no idea why. Well, I had 3 roommates and they all had boyfriends. First, I was a person that they came to talk about everything, right? Because we're that person. And I was experiencing all of their emotions as if they were my own. I didn't know I was clairsentient back then. Imagine having all of the emotions of having 3 boyfriends. Are you kidding me? 1 boyfriend is enough, especially college level, right? Drama. So this is where the ability can drain us if we are not aware. I would not trade this ability for anything. And some days I'm like, effing clairsentience. It comes with management. This is why knowing what is ours and what is someone else's is so very important. I will keep saying that over and over and over. If we want to have a life and relationships that are directed by us and not constantly affected by the sways of emotion in this world, being responsible for our abilities is critical. I get super crazy when people act like a fool and then their excuse is they're an empath. No, it is not a free pass to be irresponsible for yourself. It is like Spider-Man says, with great power comes great responsibility. Okay, so the most common signs of clairsentience are include but are not limited to. You can get overwhelmed in groups or crowds. Imagine feeling the emotions of the person next to you. Now multiply that by a factor of 10, 100, or thousands. This is one of the main reasons that I go to very few funerals. It's a lot of grief to be feeling. You recharge in nature. Big one for me. You listen to your gut instincts, right? You get that gut feeling. It could be somewhere else in your body, but this is where we get to start to pay attention and ask those kind of questions. You are a natural lie detector and can read between the lines. You may be able to sense what kind of person someone is without ever interacting with them. Yep. You can get physically ill when you are around someone or doing something that isn't a match for you. This is true. I have experienced this. This is, you guys know, most of you know my health journey with brain injuries and that sort of thing. So when something's a no for me, and if I'm going to go do something I'll get physically sick, like that's a separate thing. But if I'm around someone or doing something that isn't a match, I will start to not feel good. So pay attention to that. And my health is my most important thing. So I fix it, whatever that is right then. You're a good listener, right? You can get goosebumps or chills, things like that, hairs on the back of your neck standing up out of the blue. People may view you as too sensitive or too emotional. I have different views about that. It's one of the things I help people with. But in the world, sometimes we're viewed that way. You can pick up on people's physical pain and feel it in your body as if it were your own. One of the reasons that I avoid hospitals if I can. Once again, and I say it over and over and over, this is why it's so important to know what you feel like, what your particular energy is, what your body feels like, so that you can pay attention if you happen to be picking up someone else's physical pain. You are gifted at psychometry, right? That's the touching objects and getting the energy off of it. And I don't know if I have this somewhere else, but it's funny. I used to like, I would get like weird food cravings, not weird, but ones that weren't mine. Like out of the blue, I'd be craving like chocolate chip cookies. And I would be like, what the heck? And so I would text my friends and I'd be like, which one of you is wanting cookies? Stop it. Go eat the cookies. And one of them would text back, be like, that's me. Because when you spend time with people, and like I said, if you're clairsentient, and this is one of my strongest ones, I'm super sensitive, like, what's happening. You're like, someone wants cookies. All right, where else was I? Okay, you feel the emotions of spirits, etc., just like you're feeling the emotions of the living. You can detect energy in a space, even if no one is there. This one shows up for me when I'm doing mediumship. It feels exactly the same as if the person is standing next to me. You can walk in a room after an argument and know what happened without anyone telling you or witnessing it yourself. You are sensitive to your environment. Do you notice that you are impacted by small changes in your space? Does clutter affect your thinking and energy? I used to walk into my best friend's house and instantly ask her, like, what moved? Like, what did you move on a bookcase? And she would be like, oh, I cleaned. And I was like, stuff is out of place. You are sensitive to movies, TV shows, books, music, etc. You catch yourself crying, being really excited, etc., because you feel the characters or the real people on the screen. You are feeling their emotions as if they were your own. This is a place where we get to be mindful of what we are watching, reading, and listening, because we can be drained really easily. I love when I'm talking to people about this, because it's not one that people recognize. And they're like, oh my gosh, is that why when I watch this TV? And I'm like, yeah, I can watch like America's Got Talent. I cry almost the entire show, because their families are there. Everybody's excited. Everyone, like, I'm just like, oh my gosh, they love him so much. Right. And it's a really happy show. And I'm just crying through the whole thing. And there are shows that I just cannot watch because of the feelings. And sometimes it frustrates me because I'm like, I really want to watch this show and I can't, I'll get sick. And like I've said, getting sick is not an option for me. And this is the place too, is where you start to spend time recognizing what you have and develop whether it's any of the clairs that we're talking about, really getting clear on what's yours so that that self-doubt disappears. Because I remember one time I was reading a book, and I have lots of stories tonight because these are my two strongest ones. And I love talking about this stuff. So I remember I was reading a book for book club, and it was a book about small town in Wisconsin, mail order bride, like not anything kind of weird. And I could get about 10 pages read in this book, and then I would get sick and I'd have to put it down. I was like, this is a dark book, but it wasn't a dark story. Like, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Right. And this was years ago, and I doubt myself. And I finally got through the book. I literally could read about 10 pages at a time. And I went to book club, and I was like, I don't know what was going on. And I'm the weirdest one of the group, and weird in a fun way. And I said, I just had a really hard time reading this book. And one of the other women was like, yeah, there was like a thing, but like I said, the story was not. And so one of the people looked up the author, and he was massively tortured and abused by his family, mentally, emotionally, physically, sexually. And like I said, this book was not about that at all, but this man's energy came through. Like, I could feel that. So this is the place of where that doubt can play a role. And like I said, because I was like, no, it's just me being, sends whatever stories I was telling myself. It really, really does make a difference. Let's see. Your mood can change quickly and unexpectedly. I remember one time I was at a group dinner at a restaurant, eating nachos, talking to people, having a great time. Instantly, I'm crying. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, what the hell? What the hell? It's very inconvenient sometimes having this ability. And so, right, I check in, I'm like, not mine, use the tools, release it. And I found out a little bit later that a woman on the other side of the restaurant had lost her dad that day. And of course, she was really sad and crying and upset. So sometimes you cry when you're eating nachos. You notice temperature variations. You are very selective and on purpose about who you spend time with because you don't want to be drained energetically and emotionally. You can tell when the energy shifts and can describe what that energy actually feels like. You are so in tune with your body, you may know when something is wrong. Anyway, I get that too. Okay, so those are some of the indications that you may be clairsentient. For homework, I invite you to take some time to look these over, see what, if any, resonate with you, spend some time asking questions and paying attention to the awarenesses that you have. And if you want to know what clairs you have, send me a DM this week and I will do a quick check for free and let you know what I perceive for you. As I've said, teaching intuitive and psychic tools is one of my favorite things to do as an intuitive mentor. If you recognize yourself in any of these scenarios, and if this is something that can move you forward along your journey, then please reach out. I would love to apply for the job to be your guide. Okay, that's all that we have tonight. I hope it was helpful. I know it is a lot of information. So all this stuff I talked about, the video is going to be uploaded to the YouTube channel tonight under Alicia Sweezer. Do all the things, like, subscribe, share. And then the written version for the blog comes out on Wednesdays on my website, whoknewhealing.com. It's new with a K, so that you still have these resources. Like if you are watching it, you don't have to write it all down and that sort of thing. And there's the podcast version as well. So people, yay, people are writing in the chat. Thank you so much. Love hearing about all of the things, right? These are just so much fun things. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. I had a great time. Join me next Monday. We are going to talk about clairalience, which is the smelling one, and clairgustance, which is the tasting. Like I said, I was really surprised by that one. Apparently the clairgustance tasting is kind of related to the clairsentient. So that's where I was like, oh, I have this one and that one, but we'll talk about that next week. You have to tune in. Thank you to everyone who donated to my cosmic tip jar. It allows me to create more free things that I can give to people. If anyone feels led to do so, the links are all in the event info, Facebook website, Meetup, all the good places, multiple options. Thank you so much. Okay, everyone. I hope you have a fabulous week. It was wonderful connecting with you all, and tune in next week and we'll chat about the last part of this series. And then we'll have to see what's going to come up next. All right, everyone, have a great week. I'll see you next Monday.